Hey guys, welcome back to Mike's Nerd Cave. It's been a little bit here, but we got E3 going on, so I wanted to get back behind the camera with my friend Bernie here, who actually hasn't been on a video yet. I have a few things planned with him, so it's a little preview of Bernie. It's amazing to get him on camera at all.
Mm.
And then I got Kevin back here again from Link Cable Gaming. He's been in a previous interview, and I thought I'd get him back on here to talk about E3. So, with that said, before we get into the games and the big announcements and stuff, we were just kind of discussing something before the show that's really, I don't know, it bothers me. And it's that in this age of live streaming, E3, all of that going on, we constantly have to deal with this, like the chat, the negativity, just around all of these game announcements. It seems like watching live, more than not, no matter what show you're watching, for these announcements, the chat is heavily negative because people want banger after banger. They want the game they want and nothing else. No other game matters.
They want it now.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of bring that up and get everyone's thoughts on it and talk about how hopefully down the road some things that are happening currently in the gaming space may be able to like rectify that. And even though there's that negativity, which I think has pushed some of those like mid-tier games out that we used to get on like the Xbox 360, PS2, GameCube, those consoles when studios were trying to figure stuff out, we might start seeing some of that stuff again. So yeah, I wanted to discuss that. And Kevin, I just wanted to get like your thoughts on that, and then we'll hit up Bernie as well.
Yeah, so I think the biggest problem with all this is the fact that games are more and more complicated to create. Like the development process from the beginning to the end is not as, I'm not saying it was ever easy, but I think it's definitely gotten more difficult. So any game that's going to be considered your AAA or above type big budget, they're taking like 5-6 years to make, if not longer, right? So, little studios that have like 10-15 employees can't really do that because they're so small, they don't have the budget. And to try to get all this stuff out and at a quick time and have big game after big game come out for these guys, these smaller people, it's difficult. And honestly, it's difficult for all of them because even when you have a studio with 500 developers on it, it's still going to take time. So it's very odd. It's good that I think we talked about Game Pass right before the show and how that's kind of helping the smaller guy again be able to get more stuff out. It is reminiscent of like if you guys remember the was it the Xbox Arcade, the Summer of Arcade stuff they used to do?
Yeah.
And those were all like AA title games. It was like they're pretty good, but they weren't blow your mind. They were maybe 8 to 12 hours a piece, fairly low priced, and they were shown off in a pretty low key environment for the most time. They weren't heavily like marketed. So I'm kind of going around in a circle from where it is because the people complaining want more stuff like that. But
Right.
I think the chance for us to get more of these smaller games out to kind of fill in between the giant games is good. And I think the smaller games have a better chance to come out if there's opportunities like Game Pass.
And
So I'm wondering if that would help people if they're complaining because I don't know why.
And I'm thinking the other thing I see with Game Pass is hopefully the idea of just the $15 a month that's included. You're getting big AAA games on there, and you're getting these other small games.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no you can complain if you want, but if you're already paying for Game Pass, it's no extra cost to try it out. And who knows, you might watch one of these events and be like, oh, that's a trash game, get it off here, like Snooze Fest. But you can give it a try, so why put it down right away if you can try it for no extra cost? And who knows, it could be a hidden gem. I know, Bernie, you're big into a ton of like the indie titles and still like the 2D stuff, and I think Game Pass and those other services similar to that are kind of reinvigorating those games again, at least on console. I think they've been around on Steam for a bit, but
Yeah, I think like on Steam, people are much more comfortable just going out and buying like the game. Normally they're like like $10-20 at most or anything like that. So it's not like a large investment, but I don't think like console wise people, every time people like normally buy games on a console, it's normally like they're expecting a big finished product. They're always paying like $50-60 for for a game. So I imagine Game Pass would
60,
really
70.
Yeah.
We're getting
70 now.
70
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
really used a
PS5
console for
games.
a while now.
He's a PC main.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't
well,
had a console.
Well, no.
It's a good
I
time
have
to a
Nintendo.
PC
I have
right now.
Nintendo stuff. I've had, now I have a Switch, but the earliest console before that might have been, I don't even
Yeah,
know,
I don't. It's
a Wii.
tough with all this. I mean, I think pricing is the biggest issue I see with things going forward, and for the availability for games to come out, I guess you have to. Okay, so if I back up and say I'm a developer, I want to make a game. I'm a studio of, let's say there's 4 of us, right?
Yeah.
I can make a game for PlayStation, and they don't have a great service like Xbox does for Game Pass. So if I want to do it on PlayStation, I'm going to charge $20, and let's say we get 500,000 copies we sell. That's pretty good, I'd imagine. But then if I put it on Game Pass, there's millions of subscribers, and every time it gets released, it goes to the top of the page, newly released. And I'm sure tons of people would just click on that and say, well, I might as well try this. It's free. Download it. It doesn't really cost you anything other than a few minutes of your time. You play it. You hate it. You delete it. Well, now the developer can at least say, hey, it was downloaded 5 million times and, count that positively.
Yep.
And gives them an opportunity.
And they get the bag from Microsoft either way. Like they get paid.
So,
and and the other positive that we're jumping ahead, getting more into Game Pass than just this initial.
I know.
Thing,
As soon as I say
it's okay.
Game Pass, I get so excited every time we talk about it.
It really is. It's one of the best deals right now, especially because it's on both console and PC too. But what developers have said with it, that they've seen the sales increase in a game that's like 4 years old. I can't remember which game it was when it came there, but it was like a 3 or 4 year old game, and
There's
they put it out
several
on
like
Game Pass.
On Game Pass,
and they were like, "Yeah, we saw almost as good of a sales that month as we did the first month we launched the game." Because what happens is someone gets it on Game Pass, and then all their friends are like, "Oh, whoa, what's that game?"
Yeah.
And they want to get it, whether they have an Xbox and don't have Game Pass, or they have a different console or something. It's just another way to, like you said, get eyes on it. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know that game came out 4 years ago. This game, it looks pretty sweet. I'm going to go give it a try. And they get their sales reinvigorated that way. But, yeah, I'm hoping, I guess, rounding back to the first point is that the negativity...
I took us way off.
It's all good. but the
Sorry,
negativity in these streams... it's frustrating. It's
they
frustrating
need to shut up.
Yeah, it's frustrating
Just
to watch
be
these
quiet,
live streams.
internet.
It's just snooze. Like the comments are just snooze fest, like boring. Like get to the
They're
good
trying
games.
to be funny. They know they're in front of a big audience and everyone can see them, and they're just looking for that 2 seconds of fame, I guess, to see what I can do. But
Yeah, and
sometimes you're not wrong. Some of these conferences, I might have agreed with a snooze fest, but
we'll get to Square
It's-
Enix later.
yeah, to kind of like, I think if you could make the perfect conference where people are not going to be bitching and complaining, and to be fair to developers, to not make them like kill themselves to get this work out, is have a start off a little bit strong, have a good announcement, have a couple mediocre things along the way, hit us hard with 1 or 2 big ones in the end, close her out. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think that's a complainable thing. If you can come in, I know we're gonna get into each conference, but Xbox I think did a great job of this today. They came in strong. They had some pretty good things along the way. I kind of was just looking around while we're watching because I was kind of bored because it wasn't everything I liked. But then the end, all of a sudden, hitting big, and then that ended.
Well, and throughout, no matter what they
people were still complaining about that.
whether you liked the games or not on the Xbox One, it was just game after game after. Like you didn't have a chance to breathe between games to like think about what you just saw because it was like next game, and it was fun.
Right.
I enjoyed that. I guess another way to look at it is I think Nintendo, which sadly theirs is still Tuesday. It's a little ways away. But I kind of like what they do, and that they do their direct, and then they do a treehouse separate, where then the developers can actually like talk about stuff. They do those interviews, they do the gameplay, those kinds of things, and they have less of that happening during the direct because
Which is nice. I
I
was complaining about that same thing to you too. It's like, oh, they come in, they show a title, they show a CGI trailer, and then all of a sudden the developer comes in, they just tell you how great the game is. Well, of course they're going to say it's great. And they're never going to go, well, it's not my favorite game we've ever worked on. They always come in, this is the biggest and craziest game we've ever worked on, and I can't wait for you to play it. And they show a montage of everything, a girl with blue hair, and then we go back to, the title screen. That's the end.
Right.
Ooh, girl with blue hair. Which game was that? I must have missed that one.
That's every developer.
No, I'm kidding.
That's them being woke. They're like, who's the girl with blue hair? Let's get her on camera.
No, yeah, literally, he was like pulling up videos like right before this, and like the only developer I saw on there was a girl with blue hair. You nailed it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's basically it.
I think that was from the beginning of the Ubisoft one.
Is that which one?
When they're talking about the Rainbow Six game,
I don't even know which one I'm referencing. You just said there's like a 60% chance you're getting a girl with blue hair.
Yep. Instantly, one of the first people talking about the Rainbow Six game was a girl with blue hair, which is kind of funny. We just brought that up, but yeah, no, you're right though. They want to get the interesting people on, like the developers that have been working on the game. And I know he's joking around, like girl with blue hair, very generic, like relatable. That's what they're going for. But whoever these developers are, the ones they try to get on there, they think that like, let's get the most relatable thing for these gamers.
Yeah.
But the people watching, the people who actually tune into these E3 events, don't care that much about seeing that. They just want to. They just want to see the games, and they want to judge the games.
There's so many people that are. It's like two big camps. Like there's the camp of people who just want to play a great game. They don't care about literally anything else. And then there's the other side that are so worried about. And I'm not trying to say like diversity is bad or anything, but that's the bigger concern than the actual game. Like I'm like, we should have a diverse company making this, but I also want a good game. They should go hand in hand. It's a lot of people will support these games sometimes and they're not even great, and it's just because they're diverse. I'm like, you got to do both. You can't just hire a bunch of cultures and make a bad game that doesn't make a good game or a good company.
Right.
That makes a bunch of people that are going to lose their jobs because they're not going to sell copies. Like,
yeah.
So it is weird the message they try to show, and sometimes it's like we just want to see a game here, but I understand why they do it. It makes sense. It's good marketing.
And sometimes it does work out. Like, I think that's sometimes what the companies fall into, the trap of it works out once, and they're like, oh, we got to do this.
We got to keep doing it every time.
We got to do it just like this again.
Well, that's what companies do with the games too. Like all these, all the battle royale type games are free to play. Like the ones that are good, they make just oodles and oodles of money. They're just milking it every, Warzone and Fortnite and all these. And EA's got Apex, and then Ubisoft doesn't have that, so they.
Well, Ubisoft has.
Big
open world, climb tower, unlock part of map, move on, do 20
to 30
side quests, and do it all over again.
No, they have that one game. See, none of us even know the name of it. They, I can't even tell you. We have to look this up. Ubisoft Battle Royale.
Oh, their battle.
They pushed it. What is that game called?
What?
Hyperscape.
Oh yeah, no.
So they pushed that game. They were trying to. They're like, everybody else is doing it. We got to just copy them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of these companies just start to copy each other based on
they didn't
what's successful, but
they didn't stick with that one. I thought it. Honestly, a lot of people were playing it. It looks like it could be good, but
because they were giving everybody like a $10 gift card to their website if they played it and stuff. Yeah, Ubisoft will give you $10 to play its free battle royale. This was December 20th or December 10th, 2020.
Oh, I didn't know they did that. That's tough. That sounds like you're.
It's a good game, but nobody's playing it. It's sad.
That's the problem. I mean, like, when you copy, there's like a certain amount of like, oh, the first person makes this type of game. It hits well. Then like the next person that follows right up probably can get a good following still, because then there's people like, well, I liked a lot of it, but there's little bits I would change, and then like, oh, this fixed it. When you start getting down too far on the list, it's like they're already in these other buckets. Like there's the people who are like, oh, this just wasn't right. This was just a little bit off. Like you're gonna catch like not enough people at that point. So like, I think copying is really good from like for the company. Like if they're high up on the list, but once you get too far, then it's kind of like, okay, it's. You just wasted a bunch of time and money for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. I agree a lot, because that's what they did. They wasted that Hyperscape game. It's going to go away soon. I don't know. I can't even remember the name of it. It's so forgettable. It's sad.
But yeah, I guess now that we're talking a little bit about games, we kind of got that out. I feel like a little bit of a hot take there at the beginning. But I guess we can get into what we've seen so far this weekend, our thoughts on it, and what we maybe would like to see going forward for the rest of E3. So I guess let's jump straight into the first thing that happened before E3 actually started, and that was Summer Games Fest here on Thursday. And they started it out, I thought, pretty good. It's a niche audience, but Borderlands, pretty good size audience. People like it. And they started right out Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which had been rumored like the day or two before that this was coming. But it was kind of weird. Like, I was like, I don't know. And it was a very like hazy rumor from the stuff I was hearing, like just listening to the other shows and whatnot. But yeah, it looked pretty cool. If you like Borderlands, but you want a more fantasy style thing, I would say, yeah, I'll probably give it a go. How about each of you guys?
I don't know if it's a game that I'm really interested in, but for the actual like show, for what they had, I think that's a pretty big game to be at. A Jeff Keighley show that's not really it's not technically not part of E3, and it's not backed with a huge company with lots of money. So for Jeff Keighley and his fam over there trying to do this, that's a pretty big game to get. And that's not even the biggest game they got. So I would say it's a pretty decent start to their show.
Yeah, I actually, I'm throwing it up right now because I don't know if you had the chance to see this one.
I haven't seen this one yet, so I'm curious to see what it's
working on Thursday. But I know you've played every Borderlands.
Yeah, so I really like the first one. The second one I thought was amazing, and then it's kind of been losing my attention as of late. Like I always play with like one of my other buddies, and we played like the first three, and then this last newest one that came out, we both got, and like we started it, but we've just
kind of fell off.
We've picked up other games that have gotten our interest more. So I'm curious to see how they. Now is this just like a side game to it, basically, or?
So it's its own spin-off. They said it's like has no direct correlation to the Borderlands story.
Okay.
So it's its completely own spin-off thing, and it's that same art style, the same over-the-top action, the same idea of you can play co-op. But I like the idea that it's a completely new thing, because for the same reason I think that main like Borderlands game was almost getting a little stale.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this has a little more flair. Has a lot of bright colors, really draw people in, But no, I think the fantasy aspect mixed with the over-the-top guns and whatnot that you get from the Borderlands style of games is a really cool mix. I'm excited to see how that plays. So,
is this one gonna be on Game Pass or?
No.
No, because this is.
No, yeah, that was from Games Fest, and they didn't show it off at Xbox, but they showed it off again. Oh, Gearbox had a show last night. I was like, I know I saw it a second time, but it was in Gearbox's show.
Because it's basically one of those, like, I would 100% try it if I had no risk at it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
It ties in right to our last conversation.
Well, and saying that, it hasn't been announced. I don't know if it'll ever be announced, but there's been rumors now for like a year that Uplay, which this isn't Ubisoft, but I know we're going to be talking about a few Ubisoft games here in a second, that was going to get added to Game Pass at some point. And I feel like that is one of the other big ones that they have a ton of games just like this that I'm like, oh, I would love to try.
Mm-hmm.
But it falls in that same category of like, $60 is a lot to try.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not a demo, it's tough. Yeah. So I'm hoping either demos or like something, because a game like this, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, looks like a good time, but it's right on that edge of like, I don't know if I want to pay for it.
It's competing with a lot of other games at that point, right? If you have to pay the $60, it's like, well, I'll probably be happier with this game, so I'll just go with this. So it's kind of it's tough when it's competing with so many other things.
Yeah, there's
that same price point. If it was $40, I'd say, like all of a sudden, okay, well, I can play $40 and I compare it to other $40 games. maybe there's a chance, but
Yeah,
when it gets down to being full price title, it's like I don't know. Do I really want to deal with that or no?
and looking at Games Fest as a whole on Thursday, from after this announcement through till near the end, there was a lot of just kind of like multiplayer games as a service games shown throughout. Good, bad. Like I had it on in the background. There was nothing that I was like, oh my god, this show sucks, because they had a good, I felt like, speed going. They showed a lot of stuff, but there was also nothing that stood out to me. But this was the show that really kind of opened my eyes and was like, why is everyone being so negative in the chat just because they don't see something they want? These games do well. The games as a service games, the multiplayer games, the reason they are still making them is because people are playing them. They're just not the same people that want to sit down and watch E3 presentations. It's the mainstream crowd playing these mainstream games.
Yeah.
So they are for somebody.
That's the problem. Is the people watching the conference though are not those people. The people that are playing these, there's so many. It used to be back then is like you're either a gamer or you're not a gamer. There's not like there was never a gray area. And then we move forward like 10 years from that, the early 2000s. There's like gamer, then all of a sudden there's like the tablet game players that play apps and stuff, and then there was the gamer, right? So there was three. Now we're at a point where there's so many different camps of gamers of classification. We have all the people that play their, Candy Crush type games still, that exists. And there's the gamers that play, Madden, Call of Duty, and a Battlefield game. That's the only thing they ever play. And then there's the gamers that are playing only free games because they don't want to buy a console, or they only have one console and they play only free games. I have friends that are like that, and I can't believe that exists. And then there's people on the far end who buy absolutely everything, like my dumbass. So I guess the people watching, though, are a lot more in the camp of closer to me and probably you guys, where it's like, okay, I'm playing most of these games, I'm keeping up, I'm not watching. I'm trying to think of a good I'm not a big car guy, so I'm not watching every car release and reveal every time one comes out to see it and chatting with them, because I don't care that much. Whereas,
but you
I'm
still
passionate
like
about games.
a certain car. You still have a
That's
preference.
true,
in car.
yeah. But I mean, like the conference itself, and the people in the chat are gonna be people who don't play those type of games usually.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. It's like the people who watch every car reveal might not care about the car you like.
Yeah.
But you have a preference in car. You're just not there watching. And it's the same thing. The people that do enjoy these games might not be there watching all the time. And like I said, there was a handful of games shown in this thing that I probably would enjoy playing with my friends in a LAN type setting. If they're games that are part of something like Game Pass, or they have the free weekends, or the big sales deals on Steam, or they're just like cheaper to begin with, or free to play, there is a likely chance that I'm going to play those games with friends at like a LAN party or something, because that's what we're always looking for, games like that. But I will say there was the next big game that stood out to me was the second to last game. The one that stood out the most was the last game. We'll get to that. But the second to last game, actually,
the second to last,
the Evil Dead.
Oh yeah.
Which looks like such a good time.
But I'm so confused by this game. I think it looks good, but it's almost like the same copy paste thing that we looked at before, or we talked about earlier in this conversation here, and it looks almost like a copy paste of what's that game? The other like asymmetrical type of PvP game. There's Friday the 13th, which is the same type of thing anyways.
Yeah, it's just like Friday the 13th.
Oh my gosh.
But I think what I like about the Evil Dead.
Oh, you're on mute if you're trying to talk to me.
I'm still on mute? Am I still on mute?
No, now you go.
Huh, weird. But yeah, anyway, with the
I don't
Evil...
know if you said the name of it. What game,
Friday the 13th was what you said, and I agree. And then the original the Evil Dead game. I mean, this is...
No, there's one more that's just like it. Aces... Dead by Daylight. That game.
Oh, okay.
So when I started seeing this Evil Dead video, I thought it was a Dead by Daylight like DLC, because they have tons of, other random people in the game from like horror genres and stuff. But it's a little odd to be trying to, because the Friday the 13th one ended up, I don't even know if it's still playable, because they got hit with lawsuits and stuff, which that's a whole different issue. but it seems weird to have so many different games that are the exact same game. So I think it looks cool, and I definitely want to play it, but I'm a little worried that this game it's almost too niche in a way another game that's also pretty niche is pretty similar.
I can't remember what they said with this game, what it's coming to, and what the price is going to be. Because that'll definitely be a big deal. Because if it's a game, you can get it at a decent price. Again, this is a game that looks fun with friends because they have the PvP aspect of you can play with up to 5 people just in your own lobby, where the one person is one of like the demons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I saw that. That's pretty cool.
the demon can possess the human players and make them attack the other human players. So it turns into this weird PvP thing that almost reminds me of like the zombie shark style game in Halo, when you had the invisible guy with the sword and then the regular players trying to kill it. I think it could result in some fun. Again, just
am I wrong though? Is
hangouts.
this not an it's not a word. A
Like,
no, I
are
can't
you
even
thinking of
say it.
Atypical?
No,
You said
whatever game is
asymmetrical.
where, I think that's it. Yeah, asymmetrical. It's where it's like 4 versus 1.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's exactly what
this
it
is
is.
like that. Okay, that's what I was making
Yeah.
sure, because I'm like, I remember watching it, now I can't remember.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And I think the quirkiness and the weirdness of all the characters, the different things you'll be able to do, might make it really fun. I'm willing to try it. It definitely, like I said, it caught my eye because of all that stuff.
I could definitely see this type of game though coming to Game Pass eventually.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the
And
reason it caught my eye.
It's funny though is, well, I know it's not funny, but when games like this where this is probably a good AA title, right, that we're kind of talking about.
Exactly.
If it doesn't come to Game Pass right away though, I am a little bit hesitant to purchase it at launch, because I'm always thinking in the back of my head, well, maybe it will come to Game Pass eventually. And
Yep.
I've been bit by that a few times where I was like, no, it won't happen, and all of a sudden it shows up on Game Pass. Like Yakuza.
I was gonna say you bought Yakuza Like a Dragon.
You're right, and it's another game. I was like, oh, I don't think it'll come to Game Pass, and here it is. Today we got pushed.
So what you're saying is Game Pass is bad for people because or bad for
Well,
developers, since
it's bad for
people
Kevin.
might not want to
It's bad for me.
buy the game.
But, well, it's true though that it might have a opposite. If you don't launch on Game Pass, it might have the opposite effect where people aren't going to buy your game because they don't know what kind of deals you're making behind the scenes, if this is coming to Game Pass or not. I mean,
Right.
That's gonna be very interesting. Yeah, to see it as it goes on, how it normally happens. If it doesn't, how quickly games do that weren't, or if they ever do.
mm-hmm.
But
So it's tough because now all of a sudden you're pissing off gamers that maybe just bought the game recently and it shows them a Game Pass. Like,
well, I know with
they may not be
Xbox,
happy.
Xbox is they've been pretty good about refunding. If you buy it within a certain time, like I don't know how.
Yeah,
long
and that's
ago you bought
digital only too.
Right. But
Which
yeah,
I don't know.
it's cool that
I guess
they're even willing to do that. Even PlayStation
It is
on their
nice to
side.
even give that a shot.
Even PlayStation on their side did it with with Maneater. When that game was the game of the month or whatever, because it had a sale like the week before, so a bunch of people bought
I
it for
didn't
like
know that.
$30. And then they, like, after the sale, they're like, oh yeah, this is the free game of the month. And everyone was pissed because they're like, whoa, we just bought this for $30 last week, and now it's the game of the month. Like, now it's just free. And PlayStation was like, okay. And, like, they ended up refunding a lot of people on that game because there was a big uproar about it, which it makes sense. Like, if you go out and spend your money, like, say Best Buy. I know if I go buy something and there's a price adjustment or there's a price drop on it the next week, you can walk into the store as long as it's within 14 days and you can get the price adjusted down to whatever the sale price
I do
is.
that all the time.
Same.
So
And it should be the
easy.
same with the games, with digital, and that is one of the places where hopefully we get there, but digital is scary.
And there's also the last little piece of it, whereas if it goes on Game Pass, it doesn't always exist on Game Pass. So it is always, that's something else to kind of put into perspective when I'm thinking of this. Like, okay, Grand Theft Auto 5 was on Game Pass for like a year, and then they took it off. It's back
Right.
again, but
Right.
there's a lot of games that'll come and go where it's basically the Netflix model that did it first. That they'll movies on, and then a couple months in, they'll say this is what's leaving. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Final Fantasy, they do it with all of those. They
Yeah.
had OG Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 15 on there for a while. They took both of those off and put 8. They took 8 off and did 9. Now they're going to take 9 off, and they're doing 10 and 10 too. And it seems kind of like every 2 months they take one off, put new one on. So people can play through them in order, all the 3D ones, and I think that's what they're trying to allow, and I'm sure they have a deal with Square where it's like, we're paying you a certain amount and we get X number of Final Fantasy games at a time.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see where the model goes from here. With all of that, I know PlayStation's going to start focusing on PlayStation now. They said they're going to compete with Game
They're
Pass.
going to have to because
Yeah.
they're, I mean, I know I'm just dragging this out long and long.
I know. It's
But like they had a brand new game, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, came out last Friday, and that game is $70 in the U.S.
Yep.
And that's a lot of money, and it's not that long of a game. Some people are saying they can get through in about 8 to 12 hours, depending on difficulty and how much you go into it.
To be fair, I will say it's probably the first game on the PS5 that I think is worth that price tag or close to it. Everything else that's come out on the PS5, Returnal, I know you were saying earlier you love it.
Yeah, I really like that game.
But again, it's a new title.
But I
It's a
didn't pay
niche
$70
thing.
for that game. I signed up for GameFly to get it because I didn't want to pay for it because I
Right.
thought that was too much money too.
Exactly.
There's very few. I'm not even sure. I was telling you earlier in our chat that I bought Ratchet and Clank by accident because I had it pre-ordered from a long time ago, and I bought it from Best Buy, and I forgot to cancel it because I was planning on not purchasing it. I was gonna use GameFly to get it because after I listened to these podcasts saying, yeah, I got the game done in 9.5 hours, I'm like, well, I could rent it for a week and a half, beat the whole thing, and send it back, and save $70. Like that's
Yeah, it's true. So now that we've ranted about games not worth that price, let's get into the final game of Games Fest before we get into the E3 weekend. And it's one that I will say I personally would probably pay that price for because I'm really excited for it. And I think most people who are looking forward to it would say the same thing, and that's Elden Ring, which was a pretty big surprise to have that at Summer Games Fest. That's a big deal for Jeff Keighley to get that on his own show now, separate from E3. It's a big deal for Elden Ring to have its own stage separate from E3 so it doesn't get overshadowed by anything else going on. It had its spotlight for kind of 2 days where that's all anyone was talking about.
yeah. It was a pretty big deal.
It looks like a great game. One of my friends just kind of... I was never into the Souls-style games, and one of my friends got me playing Demon Souls. I still haven't put too much time into it yet, but the time I have put into it, I really enjoyed because the combat is so satisfying when you when you time things right, when you have that aha moment on how to beat a boss, things like that. It's so rewarding even if you've just been losing over and over again. And even I started to feel that way, I will say, back when I played Breath of the Wild, to be completely honest. It had some of that punishingness, especially if you did the game in a terrible order and went to the camel first and had to fight the lightning boss. It took me like 40 tries to beat him because I only had like 5 hearts and like no gear. And it was just like... It was rough. I had no combat experience. It was like the first place I went after leaving the Great Plaza.
You were just going for it.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was that. But that taught me to love learning those timings and the combat and whatnot. And I think this game having that, as well as it looks like an awesome open world, good dungeons. And the interesting mechanic, like with the horse riding, it looks like you can summon your horse at any time. The horse has a double jump. I don't know if you noticed that in the trailer, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw everybody talking about that online.
It was funny, yeah. I know it was a big conversation, but yeah, I know I had him watch the trailer on this one, so I'm actually gonna have Bernie go first on this. I know you said you've played a few Souls games.
Yeah, not too many, because it's like that. It's hard to get like into it because like getting used to, like, we're very used to like video games giving us like positive instant feedback on things like, oh, I did, something like nothing really important. I clicked something a couple times and it's like, good job. But like in the game, it's very punishing. You sit there and you just keep grinding at something.
Yep. It does teach you.
But it definitely it brings a different aspect of rewarding to it, because it wasn't just like, oh, I just click something and I get something, It was like, no, I had to sit there and grind and learn how to combat this thing and its mechanics and everything. So it looked pretty good. Yeah, I mean, everything I saw, if I was going to get back into the like genre, I think that game would be like a perfect thing to pull me back into it. It seemed to kind of have like everything looked very nice, everything looked very that's the hardest thing, like before you actually have to like move around and like see how the movement feels and stuff, because if the movement feels iffy, then the whole game is just going to be a horrible experience. So as long as like that feels fine, everything looked aesthetically pleasing. I don't really care if a horse can jump twice, like why, like I'm not going to video games because of like, oh, I want some realism in my life. You know what? Let me make sure that every horse can only jump twice.
People are excited about the.
Oh, they're excited about it.
No one's upset about it.
I'm just used to people being so negative about things.
People are like, oh man, the horse can double jump. That's sick.
But yeah,
that's like Yoshi.
Talking about it, Yoshi, yeah.
Yeah.
It's spawning out of just like
thin air, yeah.
Jump into it. That seems very pleasing, because all the games with horses, and you have to like sit there, call it, have it come over. It's like, where in the world did I put this stupid horse? And I don't have to deal with trying to find the horse or getting on it or anything like that. That sounds I was like, that's satisfying. I don't get on to play a game to sit there messing with trying to get onto a horse. I'm like, oh, that was kind of just a nice little buff to it, but.
Kevin, I know you're not the biggest Souls fan, the genre, but how do you feel about this one?
I'm excited because I'm wondering, and this might be completely wrong, but I wonder, they didn't exactly come out and say this is an exact Souls game where it's cut and paste everything. There's a possibility it might have difficulty involved, like choose an easier thing or something. I don't know. I might be completely wrong, because most of them do not. But because this is coming from the Game of Thrones guy and stuff, and I know that is a mass market type of thing now, I wonder if they're going to try to hit more of a larger audience than just the Souls people that like that, because it's a pretty big audience, the people that love those Souls games, but you're going in with a franchise that's well known. If they have an opportunity to make more money by adding difficulties or making this more accessible, but still, I mean, in my mind, if you can make it perfect for both, you can give that hard difficulty where it's just, makes you want to cry, and then make the game difficult, but make it a little bit more easier for people who don't want to spend their whole life playing it. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for, because it does look really good. R.R. Martin seems to know what's going on with fantasy shit, and I'm definitely excited to see what he's got. But if it's a game where I can't beat the first boss, and that's the end of the game for me, because I don't want to spend 30 hours doing it, then
that's
I'm
fair.
not going to be a huge fan. But I don't know. They didn't show enough to say what exactly it's going to be. I have a feeling what everyone's thinking will probably be true, but I can still hope.
Yeah, I think I'm guessing it'll still just be that same difficulty. I'm hoping there's more to do, though. With adding the idea of an open world with dungeons you can kind of go into. I want to know more about like the tree of life in the background. And if there's these set pieces like that, kind of like rock looking turtle type creature with a bell for a dong. Like, what are these set pieces? Is it like Shadow of the Colossus? Can you interact with them? Is there more to do in the open world than just follow the story of that punishingly difficult combat? Is there other ways to, better your character, find good things, and power yourself up to maybe make it easier for yourself? It depends on the journey you choose. That could change it up enough to make the people who find some of those Souls games too punishingly difficult to allow them maybe power themselves up a little bit more before they go into certain fights to maybe, I don't know. That's the other way to look at it. Sometimes these open world games give you more options and choices how to approach stuff.
Like you could go fight, I don't know, like the camel boss like instantly in
Right,
Zelda and
yeah.
have your punishing experience, or you can
Or you can go to the
slowly make your way.
elephant like you're supposed to and get a pretty easy battle, and then you can heal yourself all the time. So choices are great. But let's get into E3. We've wow, we're going. We're like 40 minutes in. We had that rant at the beginning, but I want to try and kind of plow through what we have had this weekend, because there's a lot now. We're not going to touch on all of it. There's a couple big ones I definitely want to get our thoughts on, though. I have a lot of notes here, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit, guys. But yeah, we had the Ubisoft one. I'm just going to list off everything really quick that was shown there, and then we can get into it. So they started off the show with Rainbow Six Extraction, which was completely kind of different for Rainbow Six for them. It was almost like a Left 4 Dead Rainbow Six. Yeah, we'll talk about that, but I don't think it looks that great. We had Rocksmith, which is kind of a subscription type thing. You can use your phone to learn guitar, even console, computer, whatever. I think that's pretty cool. We had Riders Republic, which is probably personally the game I was most excited about there, because it looks like a fun game to hop into with friends. They had another Just Dance. This is actually the first year, it's 2022 now, that they're having a Just Dance game come out not on the Wii since the Wii launch. Just Dance
It's such a big deal to everybody. Because everybody keeps saying that. And I'm like, was people really expecting to come out on the Wii?
It's not. It's just because it was so funny that they were still putting out, not a Wii U, but a Nintendo Wii version in 2021. That was it was wild. So yeah, but
it's a good thing I got a Switch then instead of a Wii still. So
yeah, Just Dance 2022. You can play it.
Play Just Dance, yeah.
And they had just kind of a bunch of random games in the middle of their show. There was one that caught my eye. No one talked about, but what was it called? I just want to bring it up quick. Oh crap! It jumped out at me for some weird reason. This is a real Trackmania. It kind of looked like a Fall Guys, but with like race cars.
Yeah. So do you know about Trackmania though?
I know nothing about Trackmania.
So I'm gonna give you the unofficial history that I might be making up, but I'm pretty sure is real. Trackmania was made by this whatever company they were. I think the company was called Trackmania originally, and they got bought out. And it's a really good game that used to be like a free to play game, I think it was.
Okay.
Or it was cheap, because I remember playing it a long time ago, and everyone thought it was like way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It got bought out by it looks like the company is Trackmania.
Yeah, I mean they're under
Ubisoft
they're under the Ubisoft umbrella now. So.
Firebrand Games, that was the company I think I'm thinking of. Anyways, so they got bought out, and they started changing it to more of like a games as a service type of deal. And I think the new stuff they've added is turning it into even more of that, but it actually looks kind of cool. The games they've added, like the little mini games and stuff, I think look pretty neat. But then again, there's another game that I've noticed they sort of do the same thing with vehicles, which we're going to get into later. So
yeah, we'll get to that.
I'm a little more interested in that one.
Same, but it did catch my eye. And then we had, after all there's a bunch of random games in the middle. We had Far Cry 6 again. I don't really think we need to talk about that because that had its own show. Then it was at Games Fest. Then it was in this. Then it was in the Xbox again. Like it's been shown off like 5 or 6 times now.
Yeah.
The big reveal, which actually was revealed in the morning, and it took Ubisoft's thunder because Nintendo accidentally put it up on their website for pre-order and then took it right down. Was Mario plus Rabbids sequel. What's the name of that one? It is
Space.
Yeah, it's like the galaxy setting.
Spirit of Hope, is it?
Yeah. What is it? It's something of hope. Spark of Hope, yeah.
Oh, Spark.
There it is.
Yeah, and that one, Spark of Hope, and that looks like a really good time. It sucks for Ubisoft that it got leaked a little bit. I know there's some conversation going on around that one as well. And then they finished off the show. They had one more thing. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I'm actually going to jump right into this one, talk about it for a second, and then we can kind of all take turns what we thought about the whole Ubisoft show.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about Avatar. And for me, I was talking to my girlfriend about this one, walking down the street last night, going over to some friend's house. And I brought it up, and I'm like, did you watch the Avatar movie back in the day? I watched it probably 3 or 4 times in theaters when it came out. It was such a big deal. That was like the coolest, because CGI at that point, that was kind of a turning point for CGI. It was also when 3D kind of first became like a mainstream thing in theaters.
I remember going to it for the IMAX.
Yeah,
specifically.
it was like this cool, whether or not you felt like it was a good movie, it was a cool visual experience. It was mind blowing, and I went to it. My mind was blown, and that's why I had to go see it some more. Was the great visual experience. The story was okay, and then time passed. CGI is such a normal thing. Everything looks good now in movies. It's not, to go back and watch that movie, it's not mind-blowing anymore. It just was for its time, and the story is meh. So it's this game, I don't think is going to get the hype that they want unless the new Avatar movies come out about the same time, which I think that's the plan. I know James Cameron's working on 3 more, and they're supposed to come out next year, the year after, and the year after that. But it'll be interesting to see. Are they going to hit? Are they going to have a good story? Is that going to make this game more, get more hype around it? Because for ending off their show with it, for thinking it was a really big deal, I haven't talked to anyone who seems super excited about it. I don't think it's a franchise. It's been too dormant for too long.
Yeah.
So,
that was, 10, 11, 2009?
2009, yeah.
So how old were you in 2009? Do you think anything else back then? I was, 18, I think?
Yeah, I was 18 as well.
Yeah, so it's like,
it's gonna be tough, right? How much of I don't know how much the market is like teenagers and stuff like that with a lot of games nowadays. But you're just missing that entire chunk. This is something that they would have never seen, right? Like, why would this younger audience have ever seen this movie? So why are they gonna be interested in this game?
Yeah,
right. It'd be like them coming out with an I Love Lucy video game. It's like, well, I'm the gamer now, and I'm not interested in that. Like, that was something from way long ago.
Yeah.
I want that.
I think that would be pretty cool. I'd play it. But the point is, it does feel a little bit too late for that. And they already made an Avatar game that was bad when the movie came out.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, on top of the game, we could even argue the movies. Why are we making more? This cast is gonna end up dying before they can finish the whole series because it's 90 years in between. It just seems like everything in this universe for games and movies is just too far. But
yeah, I don't know what the plan is. I'm excited because I think James Cameron probably has a good story for it.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it just what is it a whole new story then or something? It's just in that world?
It's supposed to be a continuation. The second movie was supposed to come out a couple years afterward, and he got put on other projects, couldn't get the budget for it right away. There was a lot of
about the
issues.
game though? What is?
I think the game and the movie are the idea is, I'm guessing, because the game is still a long ways off. I'm guessing that the plan is to launch simultaneous with the movie, or at least close.
Is the game an open world game that follows the story? Is it a movie game where it's you're playing through the plot of the movie or movie?
They didn't say. I don't know.
Well, no, yeah. What do you think? What do you think?
Right. Oh, I think it's gonna be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a connector. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a story filler. It fills in something. Maybe between the old movie, okay, fills in something from the old movie to the new movie, or maybe it's a side thing. I think it would do much better like that, because you think of Star Wars games, the only one in a while that's done well is Jedi Fallen Order, and that has not much to do with any of the movies. There's some cool story filler elements that you can, that are canon, that you can bring back into those experiences, but they don't directly affect each other. And I think if they do that, who knows? It could be a really good game.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. We're talking, obviously this is a horrible, I don't know, the whole franchise and everything just seems not well, timed. But
Yeah.
like the game could still be amazing. Like who knows?
Right,
Like,
yeah. I mean, that might work out in that you said kids don't know the movie, but that might not matter. If it comes out and it gets raving reviews across the board, has a really good marketing campaign, does
Yeah.
everything right, it may be.
Ooh, actually, guys, I just figured it out. They're geniuses. They're waiting until all of us who went and watched it have kids and they grow up enough, and we tell our kids about the movie. And when the game comes out, then they'll be interested. They're like, "Oh, this is a fun game I can play and relate with my parents." So in like 20 years from now,
You're assuming that all of us, all the neckbeards out there are going to have kids soon.
in 20 years, so then like their kids are like teenage
Yeah, I
or
know.
something, So I'm giving it a little bit of time, like.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, let's one last question before I keep going on and on. But when you guys saw this, were you excited?
I was meh. I was like, oh, cool. Like, it looks good. I have no opinion on it, really, until I see it more. My first thought was like, wow, this franchise has been gone for a while.
Yeah, that's same as me.
Yeah.
I just why?
Why?
Not
why
no, but why?
Why finish the show with? I think why is it the one more thing? That was more of what they could have honestly ended on Mario plus Rabbids as the one more thing, and
that would have been
and had Avatar in the
good
place
enough.
of Mario plus Rabbids, and yeah, it would have been. I think that would have been a much better way to finish the show because it's one of the sad things, especially in the Western audience, that's happening with games right now. But if a game is announced and it's not a sequel, it's not an IP that already has a lot of weight behind it, people are like, I don't know.
no thanks.
Yeah, so
I don't want to try it or waste my money.
yeah, and that is tough. It makes it tough to put out completely new titles, but at the same time, you gotta kind of like, if you're in the marketing, you gotta kind of read that and figure it out. Either way, I'm gonna keep my hopes up for it. I just hope that it's a good game, and who knows, maybe they'll prove us wrong, and I'd love to see that. With all of a sudden, there's they show another trailer, they show some gameplay, people start getting hyped about it, and people are going to look back at E3 2021 when they showed it off, and it's like, wow, okay, that was a huge thing when they showed off this game. It was, it turned into such a big thing. So, who knows, but...
No one knows because there's not enough to go off of. That's the problem, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, like if we don't know what type of game or anything really about it, then
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, why
One of
even
those
show it?
situation, It could come out and it's a card battler. We don't know.
Right.
Ooh, okay, then maybe yeah.
You could get with that.
I could get with that. Yeah, I would like that.
So, did anything else from the Ubisoft show? I don't know if you caught any of those titles, but either one of you, anything else stick out? Positive, negative?
I think that was the last big that really stuck with me. The Riders Republic or Republic
Yeah.
of Riders.
Mm-hmm.
That one I saw. Was it last year we saw it? I
Yep.
I was hating on it a little bit, but this year I saw gliders and snowboards and some other things, and I was like, okay, this could be fun. I'm wondering if it's gonna be over the top, silly and campy, or if it's gonna be silly and kind of cool, and I might like it. But I kind of want to try it to see.
Same. I
The
want to
gliders
try
really
it.
got me.
I definitely.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go for it.
The other thing that I remember seeing about Rainbow Six Quarantine got their name changed
Oh,
to
yeah.
Rainbow Six. Not what is it?
Extraction.
Extraction. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think the quarantine was too close to COVID lifestyle that we've all been living, so
Yeah,
they had
that's
to change it to Extraction.
that's definitely.
That was a game that definitely had caught my eye. Is I'm pretty interested, like a stealth instead of like the classic like Left 4 Dead where it's you against a bunch of zombies. It's more stealth based, tactical, like having to have a plan to take down each guy instead of just thousands of guys after you. So
Yeah.
that looked pretty cool. That was something that I think it's another game I have to kind of play to try and see what I think of it. But they did show enough gameplay to give me the faith that this might be good.
Yeah.
And of
and
course, Hair, Nails, Lips, and Heels is coming out to Just Dance, so that was really big.
oh yeah, good for you. Well, I know Bernie's going to be picking up Just Dance day one. Okay, actually,
But none of them.
a take I want to go in with, because I during the Ubisoft show, I sat in. I didn't have anyone to like sit in and watch party myself with it, so I was in a Discord, just in a chat, and everyone's hating on Just Dance, because we're all a bunch of filthy neckbeards sitting in there, and none of us want to play Just Dance. And my take on it, and I put it right in the chat, I was like, no, I love Just Dance. It's a great game. Because my girlfriend and her sisters love Just Dance. And they can go play Just Dance together for hours. And do you know what that means? That means I can come downstairs and play games on my PC. Everybody else out there should agree with
Just
that.
Dance every year because my wife loves Just Dance with her friend. I have the subscription to their service, and they go play, and I come play in here. So
right,
win-win.
And I don't know. I mean, everybody knows happy wife, happy life. If they're having fun, you're having fun. So.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'll play with them sometimes.
Well, I do too. I break a sweat. I'll get in there and play.
So you guys are misrepresenting the neckbeards. There's other ones that don't have girlfriends or wives, and that doesn't apply to them at all. I can just go play video games, and there's no wife, no life.
Yeah,
is that how that works?
Now you can play Just Dance at home by yourself, though. So
yeah, that's true, and then no one will know because I'm the only one at my house, and then I can kind of secretly.
Yeah, but you'll stream it.
What?
Yeah, but not my face. I don't want people to know it's me.
Yeah, you got to be careful streaming it though because of music licensing,
Copyright.
copyright. So you actually have to play like other stuff that is okay to play while you're dancing to a different song. That'll make it way more entertaining. You'll be so offbeat. Nothing will line up. It'll just literally look like you're just shaking your body in front of a camera.
That's probably what it would be anyways.
Aerobics. Stretching and workout.
So what's your Twitch handle? I'll sub right now.
I'll throw that at the end.
Make them wait to the end.
But yeah, did any of the titles we talk about jump out to you? I don't know if you play any of those, the Ubisoft ones.
Not really.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured, but
what did you guys? Sorry, I know I'm going back again.
No,
what did you guys think of the Assassin's Creed stuff? That they're going to really drag out Valhalla a lot more than just a little bit like they used to.
I think that's good. It's great that they're supporting an Assassin's Creed game into its second year. I personally, I haven't gone through Valhalla. It's a game I look at. I started playing. I'm like, I think I would have a lot of fun with this, but it doesn't. I'm too busy for a game like that. It doesn't respect your time. There's side quests in that game that are like 3 hours long that get you nowhere in the story,
right?
And get you an item that doesn't matter. It doesn't respect your time. If you could go through the main story much quicker and then go back and do side quests later, I think I would be more apt to finish that game. It's great to see because I do know I have friends at work who have played all the way through that game. Absolutely love it. They love that grind. They're the person who
plays Just Dance.
No, they're the person who plans out their games where they're gonna play one game for like 2 months, and that's how they buy their games. That's how they plan it and stuff. And so when they buy a game like that, they are full commit on it. They've made that decision that they are going to put that many hours into it rather than worry about playing another game that might come out, where I think I'd rather play more small fun games. I'm a little ADHD with my games. Like I like trying out different things. Right now I'm doing the PS4 Ratchet and Clank, so that I can play the PS5 one. Both of those games are like 10 to 15 hour games, and that's perfect for me. Yeah, I like an occasional longer game. I always go back to Breath of the Wild because that's probably my favorite game, and I've put over 200 hours into it. So I love that game. But the main story of that game only took me like 25 to 30 hours. Going back and doing all the side quests, finding all the treasures, beating all of the shrines, finding more Koroks, stuff like that, doing all the DLC. That's what brings me back, but it wasn't required to beat the game. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that game respected your time. much better than something like the Assassin's Creed did. That was a little bit of a segue from your question, but summarizing, it's great that they're supporting their game longer.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I mean, that sums up Ubisoft. The only thing after Ubisoft really was, I know Gearbox had a show. It was like, hey, let's talk to some actors about the Borderlands movie we're making. Cool.
Yeah, that's cool, but it's still too far out to care.
Yeah, no, and I didn't care at all. I just turned it off.
I saw the I think it was the very last thing was the Godfall is coming to PS4.
Oh yeah, I forgot
It's like,
yeah.
What? That game is okay. I want to talk about for 5 seconds a game that I feel like I got cheated on. I paid $70 for that game for my PS5, and it is horrendous.
Oh yeah.
So why is that even a thing? That game.
Also, didn't it come out? Wasn't it a game of the month? One of the months?
I don't think so.
It hasn't. Yeah, I think it's gonna be one that is, if it hasn't.
Like a free one, you mean?
Yeah, I thought it was free game of the month a month or two ago. It wasn't?
No.
Okay. I bet it will be at some point because
it probably will be because it's terrible.
Yeah.
And they're gonna want to get rid of it. And
it was a visual. They made it entirely to be a visual masterpiece for PS5, a showpiece.
100%. And it is beautiful, but the
Yeah.
game is boring as all hell. There's nothing in that world at all. There's just vases you break and you run around.
You just run to the next person to fight. You fight them. You run to the next person to fight. Essentially.
Yeah. It sucks. I don't know. All right. Anyways, I'll be quiet now. That whole
No,
show's
you're
bad.
good. I agree. We talked about the negativity at the beginning. I feel like there was no point in getting like actually upset during that one. It was just I just turned it off though. There wasn't anything there for me. But I'm okay with saying that and not being upset about it.
Yeah, you're not in the freaking chat going, what the hell, man? I hate you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw shit at you.
What the heck, Gearbox? Where's Halo 8?
Yeah, they don't even know what they're talking about. Why are you not putting that on the Switch? Like,
Yeah.
Just dumb.
Yeah, but so fast forward to today. Let's get into today, the big one, and they absolutely killed it. And that's going to be Xbox. And I think I can speak for all three of us. I know you got to see all the summarized stuff earlier and whatnot. I think Xbox made a pretty big freaking statement. One, how to have a showcase of games.
Yeah,
They did not slow down. You didn't have a chance to think about one game. It was already the next game. And two, they showed off 31 games. 28 of them are coming to Game Pass day one. I know the number they said was 27 in the showcase, but that was before their one more thing at the end where they showed another game that's an exclusive for them. So, yeah, they showed 31 games total. 28 of them are Game Pass day one games.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's wild. There's AAA experiences coming to Game Pass day one. Bethesda Studio Games, Game Pass day one, and they started off big. They started off huge with Starfield. There wasn't much that they showed. They just kind of showed some in-engine renders, essentially, that was like 10 seconds long and ended up teasing the release date. It's next November 11th, so 11/11/22. I don't know if they did that because it's like 11 plus 11 equals 22. I don't know, but
maybe.
But
Oh, it get delayed, and then it won't work anymore.
yeah, 22 years we've been waiting for this game. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that should be good. It's probably like Elder Scrolls in space or Fallout in space, even though I mean Fallout in space has already been done. They teased the sequel to that later in the show. Yeah, then from there, I'm gonna go right through all these games quick too, just like I did with Ubisoft, and then we can talk about them because there's a lot here. But we had Stalker 2, Back for Blood. They teased some new game called Contraband by Avalanche Studios, and it's supposed to be some like open world co-op game. We got Sea of Thieves, an update coming to it that's adding like a Pirates of the Caribbean, Captain Jack Sparrow like campaign into the game. It looks really cool. they had Yakuza Like a Dragon coming to Game Pass with all of the other Yakuza games and burning Kevin out of $60. We had Battlefield 6 shown off again. Sadly, I really thought this one was going to be a Game Pass drop. I thought that was part of why they're showing it off. It looks incredible. I'll definitely play this game. But yeah, that's coming October. We already knew. We saw a trailer. It was a new trailer though. A game called 12 Minutes, which is a little indie game. But from what I've heard about it, looks really good. Sounds like it could be a pretty trippy game to play. Psychonauts 2, which platformer, Xbox honestly needs some more platforming exclusives like this to compete with like the Ratchet and Clanks out there, Sackboy, that kind of stuff. So I'm happy to see this come in. It looks good. They announced like another 12 or so Bethesda games coming to Game Pass, as well as some more getting new improvements like Doom Eternal, getting the 120 FPS ray tracing improvement on Series X is pretty wild.
That's nice.
And yeah, after they announced those, the quick one they showed off was called Party Animals, which I don't think anyone has been excited for from what I've seen in videos, but I am, because it might be in beta on Steam now, but it's essentially, if anyone ever has played Gang Beasts on PC, it's that game with fuzzy animals and weapons. So it looks hilarious. It looks like a great LAN party game. Hades coming to Game Pass August 13th. A new game called Somerville, and it's a 2022 game. It looked another indie type game. Really interesting. I don't know how to really explain it much more without seeing it, but it looked like a guy kind of trying to protect his family thing, like side scroller story. Yeah, it looked like a cool game. I just don't know enough about it yet. And then we got into the big stuff. Halo Infinite. They showed off another campaign trailer that looked really good. Chief apparently, deleted Cortana but doesn't remember. So I'm excited to get into the campaign, but also the multiplayer. Confirmed free to play. They showed a really good sized multiplayer trailer. It looks awesome. I'm really excited to give this a try. They have a new grapple hook that you can use in so many ways. Just the weapons in general, it looked like you can manipulate the battlefield more around you with like grenades, the grapple hook, all that to maybe get weapons to launch to you or to grab them out of the air, things like that, rather than them just staying in their spawn. So that looked pretty cool. Then we got to Diablo 2 Remastered. I think people are going to be really happy about that. We've got cross progression too. So if you have it on PC and Xbox,
Yeah, that's good.
that is a cool thing.
I wish I did that with Diablo 3 on the Xbox.
I know. Hopefully they'd update it. Then A Plague's Tale Requiem, which looked beautiful. I haven't played the original. I don't know if you have, Kevin. I've heard good things about it. Then Far Cry 6 again was kind of glaze over that because, yeah. Slime Rancher 2. Kevin's played this one too. I haven't. It looks fun. Shredders, a snowboarding game, looked fun as well. Both of those last two, by the way, Game Pass. Atomic Heart, also going to be a Game Pass launch exclusive. We thought this kind of looked like a quirky, like BioShock almost, and that is one I definitely want to talk about.
They showed very little of it too. It was very quick.
There's a lot of other trailers online for it.
Is there? Okay.
That have been showed off over the last year or two. It's kind of had a little cult following, like the development and stuff. I think it's a small developer out of Russia. But it does look really good. And then we had Replaced, which I thought looked awesome. 2D pixel side scroller action platformer. Looked really good. Another Game Pass game. We had Grounded update June 30th. I've played through Grounded a couple times now. Got caught up to where you can play. They keep adding more and more content. It's fun. I just wish it would be a finished product. Among Us coming to Game Pass still just says soon. They didn't give a date, so that's kind of weird. It should already be on there in my opinion.
Yeah, by the time that comes out, it's gonna be past its like popularity time. Like it's already on the way out.
Yeah, agreed. And then they
Not
had
talked about as much.
Euden Chronicles Rising and 100 Heroes. Rising coming out in 2022, 100 Heroes coming out in 2023. Oh wow, really hardcore storm happening here. Sorry, that just kind of threw me off a little.
Like, what happened?
No, pretty rough storm. So if we cut off all of a sudden, guys, that's why. But yeah. So I said, oh yeah, Eiyuden Chronicles, 2022, 2023. Then we have the Ascent coming to Game Pass. That's been shown off a lot. Age of Empires 4. Sorry, I cut you off.
No,
Trying
okay.
to cruise through.
I said 4 as you were saying, and my brain went to say 4. I'm excited for that as well for Ascent.
Yeah.
And then Age of Empires. Sorry, I don't know if you want to go through it or get to the end, but
It's all
I
good.
was shocked by this a little bit. I kind of thought it was
Oh
the
yeah.
third one. We were both kind of shocked by it being the new one.
Outer Worlds 2, which that was a funny trailer. Flight Sim, Forza Horizon 5, and then they had one more thing at the end where they announced a new game called Redfall, from Arcane Studios, and that looked pretty cool. It was like another maybe open world RPG, not RPG, but open world co-op, kind of like looter shooter maybe, would be my guess. Looks like you can have up to 4-player co-op, and it's like a game where you're fighting off like vampires. It looked like an interesting style. So, oh wait, and then they had the one more thing after the one more thing, which I think stole the show, the Xbox mini fridge.
Oh, I was like, wait, which thing?
Yeah, Xbox and Chill, holiday 2021.
You do have that in all caps with an exclamation point at the end. So
Yeah, no, I'm really hyped. I want it. I want the Xbox mini fridge to go on my desk right here. Keep some drinks in it, and it looks like I have a Series X down here as well, but it won't be. It'll be a fridge. So that's exciting. But yeah, so that was the Xbox show, and that was a lot to take in. So what I want is I'll give my 3 at the end. But Kevin, I want you to talk about which 3 stuck out to you and that you're really excited about. Bernie, if you have 3,
I'll have to look at the list.
yeah, I'll give you the list because I know you got to look through all the trailers and stuff today, and yeah, I know what stood out to me as well, and I'm pretty excited. So, Kevin, do you want to take it away first, or?
Yeah, I'll go first. So, the first thing, it was my probably closest to favorite, is probably Starfield, I would say, because it wasn't a lot, but it was something. Seeing a date gets me excited. At least I have something to look forward to. That kind of gave me hope, even though I know it's still far, far, far out. It still kind of made me feel like it's possible now. It's not too far out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a random one. I'm gonna say this is my bonus, not counting this as my 3. But I was pretty shocked about the Sea of Thieves: A Pirate's Life thing. That caught me off guard. I did not see that coming. I thought you and I were watching it the other live, and I as soon as I saw Sea of Thieves, I go, "Oh, this is such a game that I want to like, but it's so empty and there's just no meaning." And then all of a sudden, I hear Johnny Depp's voice, or at least someone that sounds just like him. And I was like, this is exactly what this needs, like a story to get me to want to play it, because the mechanics are cool, the world is cool, the graphics are cool. So that was pretty surprising. Like all this other stuff, it was like, wasn't surprising. It was just like, it finally got put in there.
Mm-hmm.
The Outer Worlds 2, I'm pretty excited for. I thought the trailer was pretty funny. It was very cheeky and like making fun of itself. Like, it was just saying, we're making the perfect trailer based on what everyone else does, but they didn't have anything to show yet. That was pretty cool. It was funny.
Lens flare.
Yeah, lens flare right here. Back out. Don't show the protagonist's face because they haven't designed it yet. All we've got, though, is this logo. So that was pretty cool. And then I really liked that Redfall trailer at the end. I thought that was something that I did not expect to see anything like that, but it looks a lot of fun, and vampires are really fun.
It's funny. I was kind of hoping. I thought you might pick that one. I was kind of hoping you would, because I
was
wanted
pretty
to.
excited about it.
I wanted to interject with that, and we just hated on the Ubisoft event for finishing
Mm-hmm.
out with Avatar, which actually is an existing IP. It's just not big in video games, and we talked about how people want to see sequels, want to see, names they know to finish out a show. But
Yeah.
this with Redfall at the end, I thought they finished out strong. I thought it was a good way to finish the show. There was
I think
something about it that grabbed me.
It grabbed me too. Like the characters were cool. It didn't seem campy and like silly where it was just like forced. It almost had like an Overwatch vibe to it where it was like meaningful. It seems like there's lore that exists. It's not just we made characters that we think everyone's gonna like because they're just so generic to everybody and everyone has to like. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat. It's kind of a toss up because I think the Forza Horizon 5 stuff got me pretty pumped too because that shit looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And I was telling you, I have a steering wheel. And playing that game with the steering wheel, I'm pretty excited for. So that's kind of where I lie. The one thing I didn't like, if I could say I didn't like, that they kind of gave us a little trick where I kind of thought for a second that Battlefield was coming to Game Pass because that
Yeah.
kind of threw it in with everything else instead of like saving into a second section. But that I guess wasn't anything big. I also didn't like they didn't show Fable. I really want to see some Avowed or Fable or something. Like, I don't understand how you can announce this last year, show us basically nothing, have an entire year, and you have nothing to show us. You can't give us anything.
I think they're being smart in that they don't want to show stuff too early at this point and have people asking like, okay, where is it? Or have people criticizing the gameplay, stuff like that. They're okay with showing the title like, hey, we're working on this.
I get it, but as
and
a
then
gamer,
they don't wanna,
I hate it.
I know it's frustrating, but in a way, I think
Fable's so bad.
I know.
But I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait.
What we've learned from this last year or two, though, is it ends up worse when these games overpromise and they show you too much, and then it's not there. It did the Cyberpunk 2077 setup where they overmarketed and underachieved. I'd rather have them hold off on the marketing until the last couple months than have a huge push once they know the game's ready to go. So, and plus, that studio Playground had Forza there.
Yeah, that's true. I remember you saying that too. You're like, well, they've already got this to work on. They can't be doing everything at once. So
Right.
I get it, but man, it's just something I want to play. It's like that could be such a good game. You just gotta keep waiting.
Yeah, and so I want to go to Bernie next, especially with so many of these coming to Game Pass and all of the first-party stuff. At least a lot of it is supposed to be launching on Game Pass for both PC and Xbox. And Bernie here is a PC guy, but I mean Game Pass is a great deal.
Yeah, I mean like that was when in here there was the oh boy, not too far. What, Age of Empires 4? My immediate thought was like, how in the world do you play that with an Xbox controller? Like,
well, Xbox has keyboard and mouse support.
oh, does it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, like that just seems like crazy to me. I'm like, I don't know how in the world like you would want to try doing that, but I mean if I just go off of like the games that I'm most likely to play, so the 12 minutes one sounded pretty interesting. I think that would be just kind of like a fun. I don't want something that's gonna. It seems like it could probably be done like relatively quickly. Like you don't have to devote like 40 hours or something into it. I think the Halo Infinite will be like a fantastic thing to add into like LAN parties and stuff, especially if it's free for everyone. Like you don't even have to have.
That's exciting.
Yeah, the Game Pass like easily I can like see many nights where it's just easy to get everyone on, because that's always a big thing at LANs where it's like okay, who wants to pay like $15 for this game or that game, and then you get like 3 people that don't, and then it's just that like awkward. But if it's free to play, then why would they?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be anything about that. So I definitely think those two would be good. And I mean, Age of Empires 4 might be actually pretty interesting. But I feel like that might just be more of a nostalgic thing. I don't know if it's really going to be like, oh, it's a great game. I think it's more just going to be like, oh, it's kind of more hit the nostalgic feels. But
Yeah.
That's what I'd be interested in.
Well, I'm actually going to get into my 3 here as well, but I think after that we're going to wrap this up and we can actually jump into the Square Enix one next time we hop on here and talk in a couple days, just because there's a pretty heavy storm going here. I don't want it to cut us out, and I'm going to run upstairs. I guess there's some hail coming in the fireplace chimney, so I just want to make sure I get that closed up. But I'll wrap this up real quick. And in the ones that stood out to me, I mean, first and foremost for me is I've always loved Halo multiplayer. We used to do Halo parties all the time back in high school. It's nostalgia for me, and I'm so excited for that to be good. I'm so ready for it, and I've wanted it for a couple years now. I've been playing Master Chief Collection a little bit more. So yeah, give it to me. The other one, Forza Horizon 5, especially the track customizer. Again, this one looked like that Trackmania thing. It looked like you'd be able to essentially make Fall Guys with cars in Forza, plus the regular game of Forza. Horizons is always a good time. Playground Games does such a good job with their environments, how the cars react in the environments, all of that. It's just so good that I'm super excited for that game. And then to finish it out, for me, and this game, I guess it hadn't stood out to me a ton up until recently, and we finally got to see more gameplay on it today, is Psychonauts, because I love a good 3D platformer, puzzler type of thing, and that's exactly what Psychonauts is, and I'm hoping that Xbox has a hit here, and I'm hoping that they have a couple studios that can maybe pump out more of these. I think it would help them a ton if they could get, they have Master Chief as their mascot, but if they could get that, cute 3D platformer mascot for the Xbox, and I'm not saying it has to be Psychonauts, but something. I think that, it helps so much with marketing, and it's a game for everybody. Nintendo has Mario, and Nintendo has all of their IPs. I mean, they're ridiculous. PlayStation hopefully is going to capitalize on Astrobot, because on the PS5 that game is awesome. I know it was just like essentially a demo, but it's an awesome platformer, so much fun, and I hope they do more with that. He could be a great mascot for PlayStation. He fits their brand perfectly, and I think Xbox needs to follow that up and try and get their own, cute 3D little platformer mascot guy that they can market to all ages, to families, but also to hardcore gamers who just like a solid 3D platformer with good mechanics. So that's why I'm really pulling one for Psychonauts, just so they can show, their studios know how to make a good 3D platformer, and then maybe go from there. So those are my big 3. I think this was, we could talk about the Xbox one for another 2 hours.
Oh, yeah,
so
there's a lot to unwrap in there.
I think we can. We'll have to revisit certain games. I want to do kind of episodes about Cave Conversations, bring it back. I might start up a separate show, specifically for reviewing specific games or talking about specific games, to go, kind of parallel to the Cave Conversations thing, since I like to keep this about tech and gaming. But do some deeper dives. I really want to do a Halo episode. I want to do a Pokemon episode, things like that. And with all these new games coming out, I think we're gonna have a lot of content we can hit. So I'm excited. I'll definitely have you guys back on here at different times. I know Bernie, we're already planning one. It's a little sneak peek for anyone who's still here listening. For Pokemon, we've been playing both Sword and Shield simultaneously with playing the Gen 4 originals. Well, actually, not Diamond and Pearl. We're playing Platinum to get the best Gen 4 experience. And we're going to kind of do a video comparing what Gen 4 was like compared to Sword and Shield now. And also, with the new Gen 4 games coming up, we'll be able to, then have a follow-up episode speaking to how those are. So that's kind of a preview of what one of the ideas are. And I have like a notebook full, page full in a notebook with probably like 40 of these ideas already. So I'm excited to start that up. When we have a little more time, can get some more people on here, and now that COVID's over, hopefully get more people here to hang out in the studio and talk and maybe meet up with some people. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Kevin. Thank you very much for coming back here again.
No problem.
Excited to have you on, and I'm excited to watch some more of these releases and talk to you probably in another one of these videos in 2 days from now. So look forward to that, guys. And Bernie, thanks for coming on as well. This was a lot of fun. I'm happy to get your opinions. And yeah, I think the message I want to leave everyone with is let's try and be more positive. Going forward with all of these game releases, these reveals and stuff, especially after the year we just had with COVID, you got to remember these studios had to push through the work from home, had to figure out how to continue with development on, and now we have an E3 that's unlike any other. And I know not everyone's a fan of how E3's been going, but let's stay positive. Let's just be excited. We still have this weekend and this week of game reveals, and look forward to what's to come from here. I think Nintendo's going to have a good show. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. This has been Mike and Mike's Nerd Cave, and Kevin and Bernie, and it was a good time tonight. I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Yeah, thanks.